that Sleeper does, it glitches more often than I want. But that's okay. All right, let's go team by team. Last night I said I would do this in 120 seconds. I wasn't even close. The way I evaluate teams in PPR, I start by looking at your 4-pack of wide receivers because we do start 3 receivers. We do start a flex in his PPR. So we go Chase, Sutton, Jacoby Myers, Rashad Bateman, Kyle Williams. It's interesting. For having Chase, did not really prioritize receiver a ton behind him. But I like Kyron and Ken Walker. I think that's a savvy group. I think Jalen Warren's a nice pick. I can't knock Javonte Williams because somebody's going to run the ball for Dallas. And Dylan Sampson's a nice pick in the last round. Not a huge fan of Jonnu Smith, but you didn't really pay up for him. So, I credited every other 12th round tight end. I can credit yours. Josh Allen's obviously, great quarterback pick. I think it's a solid team. I like more receivers, and you're going to be starting a running back in the flex. I just don't love that for PPR, but it's like, give me like a B-. I'm not super confident to say it's a playoff team, but there's some pieces there I think are pretty solid. This team I think I'm going to really like because I remember the receivers. Lamb, JSN, McMillan, Rice, Luther Burden went there, Marvin Mims, Dante Thornton. I mean, tons of value at receiver. Irving, it's kind of a hero RB, but then you still got Swift and Judkins. So, and Tootin late. I mean, you did really well there. Didn't really prioritize quarterback tight end, but you get Dak in the last round. You stack it with Lamb. That's a solid B+, maybe even an A-. That's a draft that I really like. And by the way, let us know in the stream as well, whose draft do you like the best? Who had the best draft? By the way, South, I'm sorry. I would pick up Caleb Williams of all the names you mentioned. Jordan Love, perhaps. And honestly, excuse me, Penix is not a bad guy to have, but I would take Caleb and Love over Penix. I think those are the two that I would take, and then Penix would be ranked third of that group for me. All right, 19 likes. I know we can get it to 20 as I grade these drafts. All right, I'm going to take a sip because I can feel a frog in my throat, and then we'll go with Caleb's draft here. Sparkling water, by the way. Not straight vodka. Okay. Bijan and Taylor is a very, very dynamic and powerful top 2 running back. We had we had 3 double hero RB builds. And I would say Bijan Taylor, probably a better duo than Gibbs Achane, but not by a ton. Barkley Jacobs was the other one. I think we all did really well with those running back builds, though. Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, Olave, Ayuk as the 4th receiver is a problem for me because he's going to miss close to half the year. But, man, I like the running backs. I like the quarterback. I don't like the bench running backs, though, from Caleb. I think you go upside instead of certainty, like the elder statesman Dobbins and Eckler. I don't need that on my bench. But you did, honestly, Hollywood Brown is your flex week 1, I think, which, I take that or leave that. I think it's a B. I want to like the receivers more than I do. I like the first 3. It's a B. I think Ren has you beat, but that's second of the 3 that we've seen so far. Jettas, A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Debo. A little bit of age in that back end of that wide receiver core. Chuba and Montgomery. See, this is where I don't think I will grade it favorably. It doesn't mean you won't win. But if you're not drafting receivers in rounds 4 and 5, I think you're missing out on a lot of really good players at that level. So that's what's hard about me for going wide receiver in the first 3 rounds. You're getting great players for sure, but I think what you're missing out on, that ends up being the rub for me. Like, your receivers have to be superb. And I just don't really like Chuba and Monty. They're good floor, but not upside at running back. ETN is the same way. Scatabo, whatever. Caleb Williams I like, though, and Mark Andrews I like, but it's more of a, I don't know, it's more of a B for me. But there's a realm in which that looks so stupid because Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, and Cooper Kupp down here, that's a value for Cooper Kupp. And to me, he is your flex, even maybe above Debo. We'll see what Debo does. So you got some older receivers, but man, if those guys all are active, healthy, contributing, that's going to be a crazy receiver core. But it almost kind of, the reason I go B- instead of higher, it feels like it was a crazy receiver core 3 years ago, and this year it may not be. Just a little bit of the aging curve. Saquon and Jacobs at running back, you go Metcalf, DJ Moore, Judy, Jaden Higgins, Mooney, Palmer. Solid receiving core for having not spent a lot of resources on it. You didn't draft one until round 4. You attacked them in the correct rounds. You didn't end up with any of the receivers I love from rounds 4 through 6, but you got 3 solid ones. I like getting Higgins later. I think probably 2. Yeah, it's a balanced team. You did stack McBride and Kyler. It's another kind of B- because I like the build. I just wish I liked the specific receivers more. But that's like another B-. I still got Wren out front, and Caleb's probably in second so far. Amon-Ra, Mike Evans, Golden, Downs, Shaheed, Slayton. I should like the receivers more, it feels like, but you also didn't prioritize them a ton. So I have to kind of give credit for like Shaheed, where you took him, feels like a good value pick. Downs, I think, can be a surprising pick for value. This has potential for sure. Chase Brown, Pacheco. It's kind of another one in that B- tier for me. I'm not a big Evans fan this year, but you didn't also overpay for him. Middle of the 4th is totally a fair value. And you stacked him with Baker. That's, like, again, like a lot of these teams feel very similar, B-. But that's one where, like, if I'm wrong about one of these teams tonight, it could be this one. Because even though on paper, the receivers, you have a little bit of question. What if Downs is a target hog in the Danny Dimes offense? He's a very talented player. What if Golden becomes the number 1 for the Packers? And I think Shaheed is better than people give him credit for. He's a very good player, just not a great situation in New Orleans. So that's if I miss on one team, it's going to be underrating this one, calling that just like a B-, C+ draft. Dead ringer going Puka, Addison, Shakir, Jaden Reed. You did not spend a lot on receiver, but you got an interesting crop of names. And if there's any question about, like, okay, Addison is suspended, is Reed, going to stay healthy? Is Shakir going to get enough volume? Christian Kirk is a very nice addition because he can plug into one of the. You could start Christian Kirk and be okay. And then you took a rookie at the end in Alec Manor. Didn't really need the Mason Taylor because you took Brock Bowers, but you did it anyway. That's fine. Cook, Omarion, Hampton. I thought good value there. Don't like the Brian Robinson pick, but if he gets traded, it may end up being a really good pick. And Jordan Mason, I think, was good value. You got very nice value in a lot of these picks, Dead Ringer. I'm going to go solid B, maybe about tied with Caleb for second place right now. Like that team. I got to be real, though. I'm not going to be objective. I mean, I'll try to be objective. Objectively, I think my team I really nailed it in this draft. Quarterback, I pushed. Tight end, I obviously, I went with the upside rookie, and then I added Kincaid. I'd probably start Kincaid week 1, but maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I'll just throw Tyler Warren out there. Gibbs, Achane, to have that with the receivers, Harrison, Worthy, J-Mo, Odunze, Ibuka. That is a 5-pack. I didn't get a 6th one, but I also got the 2 bench running backs that I think can complement the starters very nicely. Week 8 will be a little bit tricky. Might just have to start Braylon Allen, but there's a long way from that. I'm going... I said Wren had the other best draft. To give myself, I said A- for him, B+, A-. Let's like head to head. Lamb, JSN, McMillan, Rice, Luther Burden. I mean, Lamb over Marv, JSN over Worthy, McMillan over J-Mo. So he's got me licked maybe barely at wide receiver because he prioritized it more. What's his RB2? If DeAndre Swift comes around or Judkins ends up being a dog, like, I definitely prefer both running backs I have over Bucky Irving, but it allowed him to really put together a smashing. That's a very good wide receiver core that he's got. Like, really, really good. When Rice is there for the fantasy playoffs and he's your flex, that's crazy. But I feel like Ibuka could be that same thing for me. And so, but I've got wide receiver 2s, right? I've got Worthy and J-Mo and Odunze. That's the problem. So I'll give him the edge on the receiver stuff. I really like my running backs. Neither of us prioritize quarterback, but he stacked Dak with CD. All right, so I'm definitely going to have to give him an A- because I'm going to go, I'm going to go A- for myself as well. Ren barely, I feel like, has the higher draft grade, but this is one of my favorite drafts that I've done here because I'm not looking at any of these picks going, I should have done something different. Like, there's not really any regrets that I had. So I don't always toot my own horn. People tell you I've done a lot of these videos. This is the first time that I'm like, yeah, I did exactly what I meant to do. Random Post wants to know why the heck Omarion Hampton went so late. Yeah, I think people are like, here's what I'll say that it is with Omarion Hampton. Let me find him. He went here almost middle of the 4th round. What I think has happened is people are hyping up TreVeyon Henderson so very much that, like, that tier of rookie running back, people don't really know what to do with right now. And so with TreVeyon Henderson climbing, it feels like somebody has to fall. And in this particular draft, like, I didn't take Hampton because I had the double RBs. Lippo picked Henderson above Hampton, which is a take that I'm seeing more and more of. But would I go Hampton over Kamara all day long? And I don't know, Breece Hall or Hampton is, I think I would love to see a poll on that of what people would do. So, yeah, he fell a little bit, but, you know, Kittle was taken early. That kind of changes the dynamic a little bit. I don't know. I think you'll end up seeing Hampton in the 4th round more than you expect. Let's talk about Art's team, though. Brian Thomas, McConkey, McLaurin. Still skeeved out by McLaurin a little bit because of, you know, his kind of holdout thing. But I think he'll be fine. Pearsall, Godwin, you're not relying upon him, which is good because he's not going to play the first part of the year. But that's some of the better value I've seen on Godwin. That would actually get into the tier where if I needed a receiver, which Art did, in my opinion, that's not a bad time to draft him. I don't get the Thielen thing because I don't think you're starting him over anybody in your lineup at receiver. And he's not going to be better than what you think he can be. We know what he's going to be, which is a fine pick for people, but not maybe for this team because you hit wide receiver so hard. He's not starting over any of your receivers, I wouldn't think. You could play him during bye weeks, though. Thielen doesn't have a bye till week 14, so that kind of helps. Herbert with Mahomes probably didn't need both quarterbacks, but that's fine. Krosky, Merritt, Henderson, Connor, Mixon. You got 2 old guys that I don't like in Mixon and Connor, but I didn't like them last year, and they were both great. So what do I know? And you got 2 fun guys with rookie running backs. There's a good team. Thomas, McConkey, McLaurin. It's a good team. I'm going to go B to B plus range, like an 86%. So if you're in, like 87%, if you're in Catholic school, that's not a B plus. But if you're in public school, it might be. That sort of vibe. I've experienced both, so I can say that. Let's check out HD's team. London, Flowers, Ridley Jennings, Keenan Allen, Leggett, Torrey Horton. There's a lot of receivers on that team. Is it 7? Yeah, it felt kind of heavy. You talk about heavy and old, Henry and Kamara. I mean, it could work out. Kamara, I like the Kamara pick more than I like the Henry pick, but somebody's got to take Derrick Henry, and they got to take him early because he's a stud, but he's not going to catch a lot of balls. That's my biggest frustration playing PPR all these years, is Henry's not going to be part of that. But Kamara will, and I think he'll age continuously gracefully. I just can't draft him. I don't know what it is. I'm wanting, like, I drafted Xavier Worthy in that round. I'm hoping he becomes a wide receiver 1. Kamara, somebody else will benefit. It just won't be me. But I can't knock the pick. I love the Tyrone Tracy pick. And I like the Garendo pick quite a bit as well. So I love how you rounded out the 4 running backs. And I think 4 is the right number to have in PPR because you want more receivers, which you did. You have the Ravens super stack as well. Ingram is met tight end, but you didn't pay up for him. I think the bench could have been organized a little bit better. I don't get Keenan Allen's fit necessarily, but, you know, I just may be overlooking him because of his age. That's my biggest blind spot, is thinking that old players can't play well. He certainly could fit in very well, especially with that Chargers team that's got young receivers like Trey Harris, KLS, Lambert Smith, that just maybe they're not ready for the big time, and Keenan Allen's going to soak up targets. So I don't hate that at all. It's still the running back stuff for me is a little bit scary because you spent 2 of your first 4 picks on them and they're both old. So if it falls apart, but you do have good bench running backs, it's like a B minus to B for me. Fringe playoff. That's kind of the first one where I've said that's going to be on the cut line, right around a playoff team. Let's check out this roster. I like getting CMC at 11. I think that can make things really fun. And you got Breece as your RB2. You got Jaden Daniels. Let's check these receivers. Collins, Pickens, Travis Hunter, Diggs, Coleman, Tillman, and Jalen Noel. And you got Kyle Pitts. Yep. Solid B+. Definitely a playoff team. I really like that draft. It's top 3, I think, so far. And then we'll round things out with the dad. Neighbors, Higgins, Adams, Waddle, very good 4-pack. I think Pittman is a value where you took him. Calvin Austin's a name that people don't really take much, but that's a nice little pick there. Genty, so we're going hero RB, but man, Harvey is going to be, by the middle of the season, he's going to be a dude. So you got another really good RB there that will get better as the year goes because he's a rookie. Aaron Jones can start right now while Harvey is seasoning for the Broncos. I like that a lot. Pushed quarterback and tight end, but man, those positions do not matter. And Ray Davis, Shipley are the type of running backs I enjoy seeing on a bench. So that is a B+. That's an A- draft as well. The dad, Rena Grenades, myself, not Quay. Those 4 are definitely playoff teams in my humble opinion. And there are a couple other that if I gave a B or higher, the B-